Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to MX vs. ATV All Out, where today we're going to be playing Loretta Lynn's, the 2020 Loretta Lynn's Amateur National Motocross Track. It's part of the 2020 Pro Motocross DLC package. Season Pass available in MX vs. ATV All Out now. You can get it for $19.99. It's available on the consoles and on PC, and I don't know, I feel like most of you have been here at this point, but if you haven't, basically what happens is you're just getting the tracks every week. I think there's a week off coming either next week or the week after that, though. And Loretta's is this week, so there's already been 5-6 tracks released already, and Loretta's is the most recent one that is now being dropped. And of course, I'm super late to the party. I know, I apologize. My daughter was born a week and a half ago, so I've basically just been spending a lot of time with my wife and my new daughter, obviously, and just hanging out with the family, so I wasn't really into making videos that much, but wanted to get back into it this week. So again, I apologize. I know that this is like a week old at this point, and you know, other people have already done their videos and whatnot, but hey, no good party is when everybody shows up exactly on time. You always have to have some people show up late to the party for it to be an awesome party. At least that's how I've always been taught. Anyway, Loretta Lynn's 2020. This track to the 2019 version doesn't have a ton of changes. It's a little bit rougher in some of the sandy areas. The wall jump that I hit about 3 corners ago used to just be like an anthill. Basically, the rest of the track's pretty much the same, though. Not, like I said, not a ton different. But this track doesn't actually change all that much in real life. I mean, they've made pretty minimal changes the last decade or two to the track. They've only, you know, changed the ant hills up every now and then. They've added rollers in the sand section in the back, then they've taken them out. They've made subtle changes to what's called Storyland in the back. But I mean, the usual suspects are here, the little tight 180 before the finish line jump, and then they kind of weave through the trees after the start right there. And then here's probably the most famous Loretta Lynn's section, the 10 Commandments, which is basically just like a rhythm section of 10 jumps. And yeah, Loretta Lynn's. It's for those of you that don't know much about like amateur motocross in the U.S., or maybe you've never heard about this event before. It is the amateur national championship, essentially. It is the thing that really everybody wants to win growing up as a kid. Everybody wants to go to and obviously win it as well. And I'm riding as Adam Cianciarulo today with a PC mod pack by Pay 2021 because Adam Cianciarulo is one of the most successful Loretta Lynn's Amateur National Championship riders in history. He has 11 Loretta Lynn's titles, which I believe ties him with Michael Lessie and either James Stewart or Davey Millsaps or something like that for the most all time. So he was in the pack, and I figured, why not? Kind of cool, too, that Loretta Lynn's is actually supposed to be part of the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship this year at some point. They've already announced that they're intending to run a national Loretta's just because they will already be running the Amateur National Championship of Loretta's, so, you know, they'll have the infrastructure there and whatnot. But Davey Coombs went on the Moto X Pod Show last week and explained how the track will be significantly different than the amateur track when it comes to the Pro Nationals. So don't freak out, everybody. It is going to have some changes. I don't know what. I don't know if they're going to go across the road and up into the hills or just reconfigure the track entirely. I have no idea. But if they do get the national off of Loretta Lynn's, it will be different than this one. But this is obviously supposed to mimic the amateur version of the track, which it's been ran every year at Loretta's since the mid or early-ish 80s, I believe, actually. And like I said, this is the one you want to win. This is the one that factory teams are looking at. They're, you know, amateur riders are paid pretty heftily now, so the ones that are paid usually are expected to win this event. Like, it's almost kind of a disappointment if you're, you know, not to be like blunt, but if you're like Ryder DiFrancesco and you're making $100,000 from Jimmy John's every year and you show up to Loretta's and don't win, I think it's kind of looked at as like not a good thing a little bit. But Ryder D's been hurt the last couple of years as well, so you know, it's not just like picking on him. You know, it'd be the same thing as, you know, if someone like Jet Reynolds right now shows up and doesn't win it, or probably even someone like Evan Ferry or Hayden Deegan or people like those. I think are kind of expected to at least do very well Loretta's, if not win it. and then it kind of is the precursor before making your pro debut. So a lot of people that race either 250B, 250A, Open Pro Sport, 450A, a lot of those riders that compete in those classes, you'll usually see at least the top 5 or so make their pro debut within a year. Most of them just go straight to their pro debut at Unadilla, which is always the first national back after Loretta's. There's always a big gap in the national schedule so that MX Sports can run the Loretta Lynn's Amateur National Championship. Anyway, so like I said, it's these guys, the highly touted amateurs, this is the one you want to win. You obviously want to win things like Mini-O's and, the JS7 Freestone National Championship and Mammoth, I guess, if you're from California, you want to win that. So it's not the only one you want to win, but it's certainly like the big one. It's kind of like the Daytona 500 of amateur racing, or the Anaheim 1 of amateur racing, whatever. Like, you want to win this one, you want to get this title, because oftentimes it's what you look back on through your career. Like someone like Ryan Dungey, he's one of the most successful racers in the history of motocross, and he only won one amateur national championship at Loretta's, whereas someone like Mike Alessi, who kind of came up in a similar generation to Dungey, he was a little bit before him, but similar time-wise, Alessi won a ton, and then he had a great pro career, but he didn't win the championships he was expected to win at Loretta's. So it's not like a guarantee that you win Loretta's and you're going to be the next superstar or anything like that, but it is one of those events that, like I said, factories are watching. Usually the world is watching this one a little bit closer. It's broadcast every day. It's ran motos Tuesday through Saturday, and they crown champions on Sunday. And it's a great time, honestly. Like, I've been to Loretta's before. I haven't raced there, but worked at Loretta's before. And it's an interesting facility to go to because it's on Loretta Lynn, the country singer's ranch. So if you go up the road, not maybe a mile or so, you end up at her house, really. And there's like this beautiful river that runs through, and a nice little dam that has water flowing off of it. And just a really gorgeous part of Tennessee. It's in a town called Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. And it's just, it's a really cool place. When I went, I was fortunate not to get stricken with bad weather. I went in 2014, and usually at Loretta's, there's like 1 or 2 days of just hellacious, swampy rain that comes in. And because the championship is usually run in August, it's usually just hot, miserable, muggy day that nobody seems to really enjoy that much when the rain comes in Loretta's. But it's honestly kind of perfect because you run 3 motos when you race the Loretta Lynn's Amateur National Championship, and you run all 3 motos on 3 different days, depending on what class you're running. So most people run 2 classes, which means they run 6 motos, so you're obviously going to double dip on a day or 2. But most of the time, like if you're racing 1 class, you'll race Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, or something along those lines. And usually because of that, you end up having 3 very different racetracks. You have either like a fresh racetrack when they groom it nice and early in the morning, or a beat down racetrack in the afternoon. And then sometimes you get a muddy track because it's raining a bunch. So in that sense, it's kind of cool because it is one of those tracks that really does test the guys. It has a little bit of a reputation of being a little small, which is honestly pretty fair because it's kind of supposed to be built for super minis, and Cobra 50s are also racing on it, and even like C riders that race 250Fs also compete on this track. So it's meant to be a little bit tamer, maybe not the ideal scenario for training for being a pro motocross athlete or anything along those lines, but not everybody that goes to Loretta's ends up racing pro motocross. So for those that do get the chance to go and compete, it is, it's quite the honor. I wish I could have been fast enough to go at one point, but I never really got to that point. And who knows, maybe I'll race the vet class one day or something like that and get good enough to go to Loretta's. But I'm happy to go as just a worker, as a an industry person in the sport and stuff like that. And it's a cool vibe. Like Loretta's, to me, it's tense. It's suspenseful for these kids because there's a lot on the line, but a lot of it's just kind of hanging out and broing down with so many people that just dig dirt bikes. And to me, that is a really cool experience. Like when I went in 2014, I worked and, it was hot, long days, but probably one of the coolest experiences I've ever had at a motocross track, where it was just you went to different camps and talked to different people, and the families and the backgrounds and the stories were all so different, and really just kind of inspiring to see how people either got there or what their story was to, you know, why they're racing Lorettas or who they are cheering for there, because sometimes, you know, it's just a support group that comes on and, you know, cheers somebody on or something like that. So I don't know. I like Lorettas. I think a lot of people are mixed about it just because it is kind of a weird track to determine an amateur national champion, but I think it's a cool event, and I think it deserves kind of a staple in the sport's history. I want to show you around the facility a little bit, though, and I want to start off with these two banners right here, which are the 422 and the 632 banners. Now, I don't know this for a fact, and I guess I could have emailed the MX ATV guys to clarify. I believe these are two, you know, amateur motocross kind of stars or athletes that are now unfortunately deceased. Both of them died doing what they love. The 422 is Nathan Hall, who passed away in 2017. He was a pretty good rider out of Kentucky. Competed in many races at Loretta Lynn's over the years. And then the 632 is a rider by the name of Ryder Schnowski, who actually died in 2019 during a qualifying race for Loretta Lynn's, not at Loretta Lynn's, but at Baja Acres. He was trying to qualify to make it to Loretta Lynn's, and unfortunately he crashed and perished as well. So I think this is a Rainbow Studios tribute to those two riders. If it's not, I'm sorry that I'm dead wrong, but I believe that's it. Their banners are also hung. Schnowski's 632 is also hung over here. And then if I can pull this off, look at that. Perfect. Nathan Hall's banner is back here as well. So they're in two locations. I don't know the story to why they're in those locations, or if it actually is the reason why those numbers are there or not. I think that has to be it, but I could be wrong, and as far as I know, that's the information I'm going off of. So, but anyway, moving on from that, a couple other cool tidbits here. This is the actual mechanics den, so this is where all the moto dads go hang out, and it's a restricted area. Mechanics only must have a badge, and I've seen people get heated in here before by either yelling at their kids or yelling at another parent about something that their kid had done. And there's always the classic pit board of breath, where everybody forgets to leave the E off breathe. So they just tell their kid, breath, breath, take a breath, breath, breath. See that pretty much 100 times at Loretta Lynn's every year. Over here at the starting gate, there's a cool little, this is the staging area actually, where everybody kind of stands and then you load into your gate. It's funny over here that there's a sign that's right here that says golf cart parking. The real Loretta Lynn's, definitely you cannot park a golf cart in there. I mean, you can try to get in there, but staging goes kind of winding through over here and actually ends up, like you have to go through like 3 lines of staging area just to get to your gate. You usually have to line up for your moto like 5 motos before, it seems like, just to go through, and you kind of weave through here, and then you end up in that little staging area behind the gate. A moto goes off, then you load into the gate, wait for their moto to finish, etc., etc. Up there is like a little concert venue. When I went there, Jamie Lynn Spears had a concert up there, so they usually have some headliner music play on, I think, Friday evening, so it's kind of like conclude the festivities. But there's also many other things. The award ceremonies goes on up there. Tons of things. I mean, there's dancing, there's yeah, a lot of stuff that goes up at that little venue. And then there's actually a like cafeteria or a snack bar, I guess, at that building right there. And then over here, just another little pit area. I think this is usually where they do like post-race breakdown of everything, talk to the riders that did well or did not do well. And then over here is the announcer's tower, I believe. It's either this one or the one over by the finish line jump, but I think it's this one because the other one is the scoring tower. So this one, I believe, is the announcer's tower, where Kevin Kelly, David Iser, Tim Cotter, Jason Wygant, a number of people go up there and announce the races every year. You can actually go up here in this game, but oh, look at my boot. It's kind of funny. Oh, what is the camera doing? My boot's all kicked up in the air. So that's kind of cool. Then a little bulletin board over here. We've seen that several times. Some trucks, a little KTM tent. What's that thing called? A container. This, I believe, is the scorer's tower, not the announcer's tower, but I could be wrong. Again, I've never announced the event. I'd like to one day, but never announced it. So let me give you a little background about kind of the facility and how you get in here. So first of all, you can't go past this barricade, but straight on ahead of me up there is the entrance to the facility, and you just, I think, go maybe like 2 football fields lengths and you're at the road. And then you come in over this, you can see the track as you come in. It's really cool when you come in every day and see the track, and it's getting all prepped and watered and nice. And you come along back here. This little lake thing is actually here, and the beer tent is actually situated normally right next to this lake, basically right there. So, you know, beer tent, go party there. And then back over in this area is basically just all the camping and the pits and everything like that. When I was there, I actually slept in a tent, probably somewhere in here-ish area. I know over here is also an area where they do practice starts, so they just set up an area where you can just, it might even be this little pad right here where the guys just all morning are just sitting over here doing practice starts and shifting through the gears and then stopping. But yeah, so over here, the sand roller section coming out of story time or Storyland, and going over the big table. Really nothing kind of special about this map. Like, if I look overhead, there's kind of this area back over here, which I'll go explore. And then there's the river that everybody goes into because it's usually scalding hot there, so it's always packed in the river. I swam the river there as well. But this is kind of all the pit area. Back through here is out of bounds. But if you were to continue on this road, literally just like another mile straight ahead, which I can't do because it'll bang me back into the map. But if you were to continue on that road, that's where Loretta Lynn's house, ranch, etc. is at. And then this area back here, it's not this hilly. There is some hills at the back area, but this is also just more camping up in here. And what's cool about Loretta's is that, like, unlike, well, to some degree it has this a little bit, but unlike Pro Motocross and Supercross, it's not like the factory teams are all pitted like right up front. Like, you could go up in these hills and find a top tier amateur rider, and you could also find Joe Schmo racing, you know, 250C or something like that up here. So kind of cool that, you know, that there's no like discrimination about where you pit or whatever. It's kind of all spread about. And then as you saw earlier down there by staging, it said golf cart parking. Golf carts are the way to get around this place. I mean, it is, there's like literally roads made for golf carts all throughout here. People bring their golf carts, they drive around. There's plenty of stories of big name athletes getting in trouble by hightailing around the facility in their golf cart well after hours. So some funny stories there if you ever have a time to maybe go listen to some old Pulp-MX archives, and people like Jake Weimer, Josh Grant, Jason Lawrence has had some shenanigans over the years, things like that. Funny stuff for sure. And then yeah, just kind of in here is like industry row. Nothing terribly special about here. Like I said, over here's the river, which I'm going to get on top of and just kind of do a long hydroplane. But like I said, seriously, everybody that comes to the ranch has to go in the river. I think I didn't even bring a swimsuit. I went in the river twice because it was so hot. But it's a really, really cool river. It just kind of runs through. There's actually a bridge further down behind me that a lot of people go down to and do backflips and jumps and stuff off of. They're not supposed to, but they do anyway. And yeah, Loretta Lynn's. Cool facility in my opinion. Like, it's, whether you enjoy the track or not, I think the facility itself is just really cool, that this is a place that hosts an event that a country music star like Loretta Lynn is like, yeah, let's have a bunch of people come out to my ranch. I'll have this awesome event, host an amateur championship, and they've been doing it for years, and they're going to try to do it again in 2020. And, you know, should be coming up here in about a month or so. So Loretta Lynn's 2020 in the Pro Motocross DLC package for MXers ATV all out. Check it out today, $19.99 like I said, and appreciate you guys again stopping by for another video here on Start Your Systems. If you have any questions, hit up the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.